Thanks for joining us for Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari in Aharo. The Joint Center for Political Studies says there are 10,000 black elected officials in the United States. 44 years ago, there were 1,469. Yet with 5 times the number of African-American elected officials, poverty and unemployment is higher, mass incarceration greater, housing and education segregation is as bad or worse than it was in 1970 when there were far fewer black elected officials. Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Irv Jallow, Donella Martin Braddock, and the Reverend John Coates. Reverend Coates, you are a man who certainly has great astuteness. I love that word. Astuteness. Great astuteness in politics. Now, we got 10,000 black elected officials, according to the Joint Center. Yet, the conditions of our people are worse. How is that possible?
We have 10,000 rappers and singers and dancers and athletes, but the condition of our people is still bad. You know, it's quality, not quantity. It is quality, not quantity, and because someone is an elected official does not necessarily mean that they are the type of leadership that has the ability to deliver for the people.
Wait a minute. Well, then what was the value of affirmative action, Donella?
Well, the value of it, let's look at it this way. We always preach, don't be a leader, don't be a follower, be a leader. But the thing about it is, there's some value in being a follower, and a leader is only as good as their followers. What difference does it make if we have these black elected officials when we don't have followers who are really in the game to increase our standard of living?
And that's blame the victim.
That's a woman after my own heart.
Blame the victim.
Absolutely.
Wait a minute, blame the victim.
Think about it this way. Think about it this way. What's the value in being a follower? If you say, I'm a follower of Jesus, that's something to be honored, and that's something that's valuable, and it says something about who you are. What difference does it make if we have these leaders and we have no followers?
Why are you picking on Reverend? Talking about follow Jesus. Irv Jallow, jump in here. We got 10,000 black elected officials, yet all the data suggests that our condition is worse.
For me, it's just that. They're elected officials. When you are elected to a position and you actually have power, that means that you can actually change some things for your people.
But they got power.
I think they just have seats. I don't think they have the power to go along with the seats, and I think that we are under that illusion of inclusion again.
Wait a minute, you got congressmen who have staffs. Yeah, that came from 60s.
Illusion of inclusion. I love it.
That's old. She's got congressmen who've got power. You understand? They sit on and make appropriations. They pass legislation. They've got power. They just haven't done much, apparently, for black
There's
folks.
there's still a disconnect, because just because you're an elected official, that means that someone had to pay for your campaign. Our people need to understand that we must own our elected officials financially, because what happens is that we may vote, but yet they may answer to another drummer.
I gave him $60. What you talking about?
Somebody else gave him $6,000.
So what? I gave him $60.
So he bows to the $6,000 and not the $60.
And then he'll bow even deeper to the 60,000 than the 60.
So what you telling me is this is a corrupt system?
Certainly.
Oh! So what's the purpose of my voting?
Well, that's interesting.
That's a good question. It's a system.
Mr. Bowtie.
It's a system. Thank you. My conservative look, you know.
Very nice.
Well, thank you. No,
Don't tell him that.
She can't help it. When, the purpose of it is that system is put into place that our people can take advantage of, but we must play it all the way through.
Absolutely.
We need to make sure that the people that we elect to office do not bow to special interests.
So what you're telling me, Irv Jallow, is that these politicians are worthless to us. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, because when you are in a position of power and you have real power, you wield that power. You make laws to help your people, to help a better situation. What have we gotten? We have President Obama. What have we gotten?
I knew you were going to say
I mean, I'm sorry,
I
Donella.
knew you were going to.
You know,
but
I mean, you know, you have these the state reps and this and that in the Congress.
Donella, you disagree with
that? How is it helping us?
Allow me to interject for a minute. Let's look at...
Don't allow her to interject.
Go ahead.
Let's look at this. Black people are the most religious group in America, with over 87% of black people saying they have a religious affiliation and religion is somewhat important in their lives. Yet, we have the highest rates of out-of-wedlock birth. We have the highest rates of crime in our communities. We have the highest rates of situations that come about because of lack of morals and values. My point is this. What is the use in having religion if you're not going to actively incorporate it and use it and be a real follower.
Show.
So what's the point of having a politics and politicians in office if you're not going to actively use it and use the system in order to better your lives?
We do actively use the system.
How do we actively
Because when we vote for these characters and we put them there, we expect them. They told us they would take care of us.
And then we leave them alone.
We leave them alone. No, we don't leave them alone. We call on them, but they don't do what they ought to be able to do. Obviously, look at the data, John.
We can get them out of
there.
there.
Stay right there. Are black people being misled? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. Who are the so-called black leaders? Or should they be called misleaders? Who do they work for, the people or the rich titans and the big corporations? Is their loyalty with black people or with a political party and its vested interests? Are we being misled? TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, Donella Martin Braddox, and Reverend John Coates are here. Reverend Coates, are we being misled?
Yes, we are being misled. We're being misled by elected officials, but also so-called leadership within our community, even and including the church. Because good leadership is good leadership, and just as we have found corruption in elected leadership, we have found ineffectiveness and corruption in the church leadership as well.
So you're telling me that I'm voting for nothing? All this hype, you got to go vote, oh, you got to go vote, you got to go vote. All this means nothing, Earth Jallow. If that's what he's telling me,
voting does mean something.
What?
Because what it does mean is that if you don't participate in the process, then a minority of people or someone other than ourselves will be involved in a process that will have an impact on us.
Yeah, Reverend Coates, the average network of black females who are 70% of the household, single black women, is $5 as of 2007, and that was before the crash.
Yeah.
They don't have the money, Earth Jallow, to buy no politicians.
No, absolutely not. We're not in that position. So again, do we have a seat at the table? Even with the elected officials, what are we really getting? Because like you said, the corporations are the one who finances the campaigns.
Have black women demanded a seat at the table? Have you taken your concerns before the people?
No, they rolled over. Wait a minute, they rolled over. When President Obama could have put a black woman on the Supreme Court last time, and they recommended him to do so, he refused to do it. And then black women like Donella and Earth Jallow didn't say a word.
Some people would even question if he put a woman on.
Well, there you go.
And speaking of, the responsibility has to come from the people. You have Washington, D.C., which is overwhelmingly black, and you had a situation not too long ago where a mayor...
Used to be. Wait a minute, Washington, D.C. is about to elect its first white mayor in years. It used to be. It's no longer overwhelmingly black.
Has a swerve now.
Yeah, big time.
City. But let's look at the situation not too long ago where a mayor was caught in a hotel room with drugs and a lady of the evening and was still elected, re-elected.
And who's that?
Who's that?
The mayor of Toronto? Is that the mayor of Toronto you're talking about?
No, she's trying to talk about Mayor. That was 30 years ago. Good God.
But then you have a current mayor that's in a situation right now with crack and whatnot. So, I mean...
That's the mayor of Toronto.
Yeah, that's the mayor of Toronto.
But the thing about it is this, where does the responsibility lie? Does it lie with the millions of people whose lives are affected by these politicians, or does it lie in one single sole representative who, after all, is a symbol which we all acknowledge?
I think that it lies within the mass of the people, and I also think that if politicians are not doing what they were elected to do, then they should be. We have the right to put them out.
There's undergirding issues as well. History rewards our research and tells us that even in East St. Louis and in Gary, Indiana, we watched the tax base be pulled out from underneath cities, and then people look at the black mayor and say, he can't run nothing.
Whoa. You just said, do you know what you just said? The tax base. Taxes are determined by what? Government.
Yeah.
Government is determined by what? Politics.
Yeah.
So that means the politician didn't do, well, I was going to say something else, didn't do nothing that he needed to do. So of what value are these black elected officials, Reverend Coates?
Well, we need to make sure that they're valued to us.
No, right now, what value are they to us?
Very little.
Whoa. Is that true, Donella?
I disagree. I think having a black elected official is a wonderful symbol. It's a wonderful example
makes
of
your
how...
chest swell with
Absolutely.
pride.
Symbols are extremely important.
Like in the presidency. Like the symbol of the presidency.
Black people need to see their own images in society.
That's
it's what
old
makes
school.
us. It's not old substance
there. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why that doesn't work
Symbols
anymore.
in the phone.
In the 60s and the 70s, it was a movement of pride. That's old school. That doesn't work anymore. We are past that. We need substance, no longer symbols.
I don't
Maybe
think
I'm wrong. Am I wrong about that?
I agree with you, because if we have these symbols and no substance, what are we really doing? We're not moving forward. How can you have symbols? I mean, what is a symbol going to get you?
Your
it's not going to
chest
get
swells
you.
with pride.
But it's not going to get you out of your economic situation. It's not going to get you an ownership position. What is the point than just having symbols and no substance?
John, I am tired of I am tired of the first African American, first Negro, first colored, first black syndrome. I'm sick of it.
Did he say colored?
I'm sick of it.
I know some colored people. My grandparents are colored. You know, that's how they refer to themselves.
I'm sick of that syndrome. How long do we get pimped like that?
Well, until we go away. And that's what's going to happen. It'll be the first, and now you see a process of us just evading, eroding away off the picture. We're no longer going to be there. We're either going to blend into something else.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Explain what you mean.
Well, through
you talking about like diversity and tolerance?
So-called diversity,
is blended as white black people out?
We don't even have full advantage of those laws that were passed in order to look out for us specifically, like the civil rights laws. You know, the voting rights laws. That stuff is going away. So-called affirmative action. Yeah. That stuff is going away. And when it goes away, you're going to see people that look like you and me go away as well.
Wow, is that true, Ferg?
I think so, because, you know, when you break down the word diversity, what are you diverting us from and what are you diverting us to? Diversity, come on, we've been saying that, the melting pot. What are we melting into? Are we going to melt away? What are we doing?
Well, race consciousness is at an all-time low, Donella.
You know what? I'm sorry. I have got to disagree with all of this. I still think that black people have the power and the potential to change their standard of living, and it does not occur by looking at an elected official and blaming them or blaming the laws. We have the power to change our circumstances and conditions.
Reverend Coates says that we are about to go where you disagreeing with Reverend Coates over there?
What, that we're about? Well, in 200 years, they say the average American is going to look like Mariah Carey-ish, or, you know,
so is the Reverend right or wrong?
I was thinking half-breed. Can I say that on TV?
The Reverend is right. The Reverend is right. Yeah, because you take a, if Earth and I had a baby, they probably would come out looking something like you.
What?
And that's what's happening. We're melding into the Donellas of the world.
So
or everyone's going to be Latino.
All right, but what's that got to do? So you're saying that black people are becoming invisible and will soon be gone, so black politicians don't need to do nothing for those who are currently here.
Is that
what you're telling me?
It's not in their interest to do anything.
What do you mean?
We're not. They are singing for someone else is paying the piper. And
I don't want to say that word. I won't say that word.
They're dancing for an economic, powerful interest, and it's not the black community.
But where does that leave us in the black community?
In the wake.
I think that they should be
that leaves us on a dying bed, is what you're saying. In essence, our time is just about over.
We don't know
what you're saying?
We don't know the effect that legislation like Obamacare is going to have on us fully yet. We're starting to feel the pain of it now.
My bill's going up $200. Right. 1 step forward, 6 steps backwards. Up next, Khari, free at last. Welcome back to Khari, free at last. The socio-economic condition of African Americans in Columbus and America remained virtually unchanged since 1970. Let me give you some data. It feels like 1 step forward, 6 steps backwards. What have black elected officials achieved for the effective majority of black people outside of being elected and re-elected? TalkTainmentRadio.com host Irv Jallo, Nella Martin Braddock, I wanted to make sure I got that right, and the Reverend John Coates. Did I get it right? Nella?
You got it right.
All right, see.
Thank you, Reverend. I approve of this message.
Even though it's spelled Nella. But from now on, you're going to be Nella. Now, let me ask you this, Reverend Coates. Outside of being elected and re-elected, That's all this has become, a circus. What do we need to do to change this?
Not only is it a circus, it's a musical chairs if your area happens to have term limits. They move from one seat to another seat to another seat. It's just a popularity post with no power. And then the really bad thing about it is that our people are suffering. They're suffering from the impacts of Obamacare. They're suffering from tuition increases, and money's being taken away. And our politicians, the Democrat politicians that African Americans elect for office, they're not challenging the system. They're not challenging the president. So our hopes rest with people like in the Tea Party.
Is there? Oh, goodness, here we go.
Well, who else is going to aggressively go after
Donella, he says that black people should leave the Democratic Party and go to the Tea Party.
That's not what I said.
That's what he said. He just said our hopes are with the Tea Party. You agree with that?
Oh, you know what? I think there's a lot of naivete about really how to political.
What's that word?
That's close to naivety.
I did it the French way, naivete. Yes, parlez-vous, Francais.
But
I think we have to think about it this way. Do we really have a government that's completely transparent, or do we have a situation where the system is so in place that politics really doesn't make a difference? It's just changing faces.
Well, and I think what we're seeing is that black politicians, Reverend Coates and Earth Jallow, are more loyal to the political party than they are to the people.
Absolutely. I think that if you're going to elect an elected official to a position, he should be able to, or she should be able to do something to enhance the lives of the people who
be loyal to the people.
Them.
Is that right?
Absolutely. It's supposed to be government for the people, by the people, right?
Duh.
And that's not what we're getting.
And those black politicians, and it's safe to state that maybe 98% of them were raised in the church, they're not even loyal to God. They have a greater loyalty to the elephant and to the donkey than they do to the lamb.
Oh my God. Are white politicians any different? Latino politicians any different?
I don't think so.
I think they are. And what we're seeing in this whole Tea Party, look, the Republican Party's having a problem with these Tea Party people. And the biggest problem they're having with the Tea Party folks is that the Tea Party people are holding true to their constituency. The Tea Party folks told their constituency that we're not going to.
Reverend Coates wants you to join the Tea Party.
I can't do it.
Why not?
That's not. I'm of no party affiliation.
You ain't getting nothing out of the Democratic Party.
No,
you haven't gotten nothing out of the Republican Party.
And there is no Earth Party.
Well, there is no. So what you? Wait a minute. Like Jim Brown said to Richard Pryor, what you gonna do?
I think being independent. I love being, the independent people who run independent.
What?
Independent politician, because that way you don't have a loyalty to Democrat or Republican. Listen,
indecisiveness.
You don't have a loyalty to Republic or Democrat. You have a loyalty to yourself and to the people who are electing you.
But
and that's the way I think that we
should go. Who do you
support?
Who do you create?
Well, the thing about it,
why do you have to support Democrat or Republican? They've done nothing for you.
So who do you make and who do you support then?
Then you find somebody within your community who is not afraid and who to make these changes and make these laws.
Grassroots leader.
Absolutely.
And what if you're that person? Because what it sounds like is that you have a messianic complex. Okay? That's what it sounds like.
Prep me, and I will
reach over there and knock him out.
I think black people have a messiah complex. I think we're looking, I think we're looking for a leader and a savior that's going to save us. First of all, we blindly go with the Democratic Party, no matter what.
No matter what.
And I don't agree with that. I think we only vote for the president and not for other
Let's talk
elected
about this for a minute. What is the track record? What has the Democratic Party really done for black folks, Reverend Coates?
Well,
have they delivered?
Well, for some things, the Democratic Party has delivered.
All right.
Such as the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, and then there's like snow noise after.
in essence, give them more votes to stay in office.
Exactly, because I was going to say stuff like housing or what have you, but a lot of those initiatives took place during the Nixon administration.
That's right. So what has the Republican Party done for black? Why should I go to the Republican Party? What's there for me?
Well, it's not necessary to choose Democrat or Republican, but what we must learn the lesson, what other communities have learned, and that is that it is absolutely asinine for us to put all of our eggs in one basket.
Oh, meaning what? Meaning go with the Tea Party?
No,
Donella, he said
that we
should
have representation. We should have representation everywhere. Hispanics don't have blind loyalty to the Democratic Party.
That's true. That's true. So why are we so blind? I didn't want to say deaf.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that.
Why are we so blind to the Democratic Party?
The Messiah complex, I think, and I think that the church
Who's the Messiah, Obama?
Some people say he is, but I think that
Who do you say?
I think that our voting conscience really comes a lot from the church, because around election time, you have all these different politicians, black and white, going to visiting the churches and worshiping with the churches.
So all they gotta do is say Jesus, Jesus,
that's
Jesus.
right. So when the leadership tells them you vote this way, that's what the parishioners do.
Or, you know, a lot of black people like the fact that...
Well, now, wait a minute, that's not true. On the local level, these preachers got up and told them to vote for that levy, and the parishioners said, you go jump in the lake.
Voting
and they
for
voted
an issue,
against the
voting
levy.
for an issue is different. It's different from voting for a candidate.
In what way?
Well, because a candidate is a person, flesh and human blood. An issue is exactly that, an issue.
Well, the mayor put his face all over that school
and
issue,
this legality is a question also, because some would believe it's illegal to support a candidate versus supporting an issue.
I'll tell you what, you stay right there. Political freedom or slavery? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari, Free at Last. Are black people finally fed up with politics as usual? Are we capable of forming a new, independent African-American political party? Or will we be forever, help us, Lord, forever chained to the existing two-party system? Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, Danella Martin Braddox, and the Reverend John Coates. Can we form, Earth Jallow, an independent African-American political party and really get black people to support it and do something with it?
I just said that we could. I think that we should, and I think
Are we fed up?
I think we're fed up. We fed up of having nothing. We got nothingness. We have no good housing, no good education, no good jobs. I mean, come on, what are we really doing here? What are we getting out of this political voting process? What are we getting as black people?
Are we ready, Danella?
No, just because everyone is black does not mean that you should belong to the African-American Party. That's ridiculous.
You gonna take that? Oh,
we did.
Again, with that diversity and melting pot, we always want to integrate. We just had a show on that, integration.
Are you saying she's an integrationist?
Yes. What has integration done for us?
Let's look.
It is time for us to separate, stand up, get up off our knees. Praying is good. Get up off your knees and start putting action behind that prayer.
But the thing about it is, I think it's, once again, it's very naive to think that, okay, if we form an African-American party, that will be the solution to all of our problems.
It hasn't been done before. Let's try something new.
White people will join.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Yes, because they're fed up too.
You know, the reality of the matter is that we had opportunity to do this several times historically.
Let's do it.
In the midst
the last one was 1972.
So I was 2 years old.
In the midst of the black consciousness movement, there could have been movements that came even out of the Jackson campaign from '84, but it didn't.
John, the problem was they depended on people who are already
associated with that party,
controlled by the political
black
party.
Delegates.
What's got to happen? Hold on. What's got to happen now is you got to have a brand new group of people who have no affiliations with these parties at all. Am I right, Earth?
I agree.
To make it happen.
But they still have to influence the masses. They still have to influence the masses.
If you have personality, you have charisma, and you get out there and you say, I'm not afraid to write these bills into law that's going to change the condition of this people, then why not trust them?
And then the establishment will then present their leaderships with thousands and millions of dollars behind them in order to push their program, like they always do.
But guess what we have? We have churches that deposit millions of dollars every Monday.
But you know
churches are not going to give up their money.
We have athletes and entertainers that we can go to. If we're serious about this thing, then we have to stop saying what we can't do and move toward what we can.
And you know how to, watch me prophesy real quick.
Go ahead.
You know how the churches are compromised? Well, first of all, the NSA has the files on all the nasty stuff that some of the folks are doing. Number one.
He is such a naysayer.
And secondly, because of their federally and state-funded programs that they're running out of their churches, that's paying half of their salaries.
Don't take that,
they'll
take it.
What, the No Child Left Behind federal dollars that all of our children are being left behind with? We can kick them federal dollars out of the church.
Why can't an African-American political party work?
It could.
Why?
If we
How can it
believe
work?
that it can. It can work because we have elected officials, so we can govern ourselves. That's number one. Number two, it can work because we're tired and it's time for us to try something new. It's time for us to say we're going to pull away from this thing that has not benefited us.
So you are tired of
Donnella
and Reverend Coach's same old rant.
We're going to lead in when we get them 16 states.
The thing about it is if black people represent, you know, less than, you know, 14 or 12% of the population, how in the world can we have an African-American party and not expect other people of other races to assist us in the process?
Nobody said they wouldn't be assistant.
Absolutely.
Other
the
smaller
Latinos
parties,
are black,
other,
or the African.
Then it's not an African-American party anymore.
Then why do we have to say African-American? We don't have to even call it that. We can just call it the Black Party.
I mean, it's like Soul Train.
The
It was
Black
Soul
Party.
Train,
What
and
about
then
that?
they let all the other races on, and suddenly it wasn't soul anymore.
It was soul.
What's the
And
use of calling it?
and they didn't even have a silhouette of Don Cornelius.
I mean, what's the use in calling it
Thanks
that?
to TalkTamerRadio.com host Earth Jallow, Donnella Martin Braddock, and Reverend John Coates. Thank you for watching Khari Free at Last.